So, hello and welcome. My name is Carl and this is Just the Way It Is. And today is episode 7 of a series all about the BMW R1250GS. Now, normally at this point of an introduction, I would also go on to tell you that this bike is on test, on loan from BMW. But that has now changed. The bike is now staying. The bike is now mine. So if you want to know more, click on episode 6 and that just explains a little bit about how we changed from a loan bike to my bike. So what's today about? Well, today is about adaptive headlights. We're going to look at the other manufacturers. They use a technology which they refer to as cornering headlights, and BMW have designed their own solution which they call adaptive headlights. And these two technologies are very different. They function in a very different way. They're both trying to provide the same solution, but they go about it in different ways. So we're going to look at what BMW have done with their adaptive headlights and ask the question, are they any good, and how they work. So we're going to cover that in just a moment. So if you're only here to find out about adaptive headlights, I'll put a timestamp up now and you can just scoot along to the start of that section. But for those of you that stay just that little bit longer, I haven't said thank you to you, the subscribers, for quite some time. If you've been following me and the channel, we only started on the 22nd of January this year, 2022, and things have accelerated at a phenomenal rate as far as I'm concerned. And I am eternally grateful to those people that take the time to just click that subscribe button. It makes the world a difference to me, and it lets me know that the content that I'm generating and creating, people are finding of interest. Now, whether that interest is a smile or a chuckle, or you find something useful, or you learn something, or you just find it entertaining, I'm very grateful. To go from the 22nd of January to here we are now at the end of May and have 2,100 subscribers, I'm delighted. So thank you very much for those people that have took the time to click that button. But let's start today with something different that we've not talked about so far, and that is adaptive or cornering headlights. All of the main manufacturers have their own solution and their own technical way of dealing with a very old traditional problem that we motorcyclists have had to put up with for many, many years. So if this is the bike in its vertical position, and this is the headlight beam when the bike is vertical, on a traditional old style bike, when the bike leans into a corner, the beam of light drops away from the inside of the corner and you can't see potholes, you can't see curbs, and it's really hard. The more that you're leaned over, it's really hard to see where you're going. There's an additional problem in there, and that is when you're braking hard for a corner on a traditional bike. This is the beam, the dip beam light. When you're braking hard, the beam actually drops down, so you see even less of the road that you had before you started braking. So there's several problems going on, and each of the manufacturers have their own different way of finding a solution. Now, if we look at, for example, KTM on their Super Duke GT, lovely bike with lovely lights, that has an additional set of LEDs in the fairing. And what that does, that uses the inertia measurement unit that the bikes are fitted with to determine the angle of lean. And then depending at different angles, more lights, these spotlights illuminate the inside of the corner, and they do quite a good job. Now, BMW have tackled it in a very different way. As you can see, there's just one headlight unit. And if I can give you one bit of advice, get a cover, get a lens cover for your headlight. There's different styles, there's different manufacturers. Even if you buy a cheap one, it doesn't matter too much. You need to protect your headlight. The more you spend, the better quality you're going to get in terms of the plastics, whether it's plastic or glass or plexiglass, but get something to protect your headlights. They're very expensive because there's a lot going on in there, which I'm about to explain. So BMW's solution is very different. Apart from these auxiliary lights, there are no additional lights. So the engineers, the GS has a very particular look, and they wanted to maintain that with the GS. And what they've done is on the right-hand side of the front of the bike, you've got your dip beam light. On the left-hand side of the bike, I'll do a close-up picture in a moment, there are two spotlights, and they're super bright. When you're riding at night and it's completely dark and you turn your main beam on, it goes from dark to daylight. It is quite incredible what these main beam bulbs, the two of them, do. But here on the right-hand side, what the engineers have done, behind the headlight, there is a servo motor. And it's what we call in engineering terms a 3D servo motor. It's trying to do three things all at the same time, depending on the pitch and the roar and the angle the bike is at. And it does a very, very good job. So let me just explain this so you understand this. So this is the bike vertical, and this is the beam of the dip beam headlight. On a traditional bike, when the bike leans into a corner, the beam of the light follows the angle of the bike. But on the GS, what they've done in terms of the motor, the servo motor that sits behind here, is it maintains the headlight on a level position. So as the bike leans into the corner, the headlight remains level. So regardless of left or right, in terms of lean angle, the beam remains level. So far, very good. But there are two more things that the BMW engineers have got going on with their headlight. So to improve vision when you're going round left and right hand bends, they actually move the headlight to the left or to the right. So the bike's vertical, this is the headlight beam. When the bike leans over to the left, I'm going to over exaggerate, the bike leans over and the headlight beam moves over. It shifts to the left hand side. So as we straighten up, the headlight returns to its central position, and when we lean to the other side, the beam moves over. Now I'm out of sync with my hands here, but I think you understand the principle. So there's two things going on. It's keeping this beam completely level, and if we're leaning to the left-hand side, the headlight moves itself or turns its direction of light slightly to the left by 2 or 3 degrees, but it's enough to aid to your increased visibility on the left or the right-hand corners. So there's one more thing that the engineers have done. With most of the very newest bikes, they have an IMU, an inertia measurement unit. And what they're able to measure is determine when the bike is accelerating and the bike is lifting at the front, and when you're braking hard and the front is dipping. So what the engineers have also got is on a traditional bike, when you brake hard for a corner and the front of the bike drops by something like 50, 60, 70 millimeters, that headlight beam also drops. It doesn't drop physically down like this, but the angle of attack of beam drops down. So what the engineers have got going on here too, as the GS brakes hard for a corner, it's maintaining, it raises the headlight ever so slightly to keep it perfectly level and moves it to the side in which you're going. And I've got some footage. I've been trying now for 4 nights to film footage from the headlight in the dark so I can explain this. So we'll have a look at that in a second. It's not perfect, but it's as good as I can get. And after 4 nights of trying, I'm not doing any more. The lights are actually a lot brighter than it comes across in the video. They are quite exceptional, and it's very hard to capture it on film in the evening. Now, as we turn into this next corner, look at the blue arrow, and you can see that the headlights remain level as you go around the corner. And although they only work up to 35 degrees, it's more than enough for nighttime riding. Now, as we turn into this next corner, it almost turns completely back on itself, 180 degrees. Look at the light on the inside. It does a great job of keeping that inside of the corner well illuminated. One more bit of information. These auxiliary lights, if you're going to go on tour, or if you're using your bike for commuting during the winter months, spend a bit of time setting these up. It makes quite a bit of difference. In the footage you're going to see, I've got a couple of shots with these lights on too. And what you'll find is the light that comes from these 2 spotlights is very flat and very narrow. And as they come from the factory, they're not set up particularly well, and you'll end up with 2 different beams. So as you turn into a corner, because these are not adaptive, the beam moves like this, or it moves like this, and it's a bit disorientating when you're driving. Also, in terms of their height and their angle of attack is a bit all over the place. So spend some time setting up. It's very easy to do. Pick yourself a dark road, take some tools, loosen these off ever so slightly before you go so that you can alter the angle of attack. And what you're looking for, with the headlights on dip beam, you can clearly see where the road underneath the cut point is highly illuminated and above is dark, so it doesn't dazzle drivers. You want to adjust these spotlights so not only are they level in terms of their light, but also you want to bring them up so that they match the height of the dip beam light. I think it will be a bit easier when I show you the video, but adjusting both of these to match the headlight beam point made a big difference. And although in the video it's very hard to see the changes, all I can tell you in real life with human eyes, it is phenomenal. Once these are set up to match the headlight, it does a really, really good job. Anyway, I just thought I'd show this. You might find it interesting. So one additional thing that's going on inside this right-hand side headlight with those servo motors is when you go from dip beam to main beam, BMW have come up with another little clever idea. So on a traditional car, your dip beam light is fixed. It doesn't change. And then when your main beam comes on top of that, you've got these two light sources. Now what they do with the GS, when you go from dip beam and then add these two additional spotlights, so that's the spotlights coming on, it actually brings the dip beam level up just a couple of degrees, but it's enough to illuminate just that little bit further up the road, and it's really noticeable. So you've got the combination of many different things going on. You've got the headlights trying to remain completely level, they're moving slightly to the left, slightly to the right on the corner, they're ensuring that when you're braking hard for corner entry, the lights don't dip, when you're accelerating, they don't rise up, but also when you go to main beam, it just turns that light source up just a couple of degrees and it helps illuminate the road in front. Anyway, I hope that helps. I hope that's a bit of interest to you. You can have a play, you can see a lot of this going on in your garage, in the dark, turn your headlights and have a look. And when you go from dip beam to main beam, you will notice the dip beam module and you can hear that little motor go, and it brings those headlights up. They're brilliant. And this is one option I would highly recommend you tick if you're ordering a new bike. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you found it informative. And these episodes are really all about trying to help everybody understand how, for example, with the technology that we looked at today, how it's implemented and how it works. Because I find this stuff fascinating, and all of the manufacturers are doing their own little thing to move motorcycle safety and technology onwards, and I'm all up for that. I think that's a great idea. Anyway, one more thing before we finish today. I take this very seriously, and I take my responsibility for creating content seriously also. So as things move forward, I'm looking to improve audio quality, video quality. You've probably seen a little bit of footage from the 360 camera. I still need to learn a lot more about the camera and editing and settings, but I'm getting there. It just takes a lot of time, and the videos themselves take a vast amount of time to edit and get right, especially the way I make them with lots of technical elements and part numbers. I need to make sure several times that everything's correct. So thank you very much to the people that have took the time to click that subscribe button. The other thing is, I actually quite enjoy the interaction with you, the subscribers, via the comment section. Not everybody has something positive to say, and I'm fine with that, because I realise I'm never going to keep everybody happy, but I quite enjoy it. I think you do too, and I actually learned something. A lot of people comment and leave recommendations for what tyres they fitted, luggage systems, bar risers, whatever it is, and I actually spend the time to go and find out what you've recommended and have a look for myself. So thank you very much for those people that take the time to leave comments and recommendations for what they've done with either their Multistrada on the Multistrada series or on the GS. So just to wrap things up, my name is Carl, you've been watching Just the Way It Is, and I'll see you very soon for another episode about the R1250R. No, it's not, it's an R1250GS.